It's a wheel chuck. You normally put this under your wheels when you're about to work on it. I'm about to do brakes in a bit, so I'm going to chuck the wheel. So when I do the brakes, the vehicle that I'm doing the brakes on don't move. I'm about to show you where they go. So I want to do a quick video. I'm about to do some brakes on this vehicle, but I'm showing you a wheel chuck. You always want, safety is first. You always want to put a wheel chuck, depending on, see, when I do my brakes, I do all 4 brakes. And depending on which tire, like which brake you're going to do first, depends on where you put the chucks. So because I'm about to do the back brake on the passenger side, the back brake of the vehicle, I'm going to do that back brake right there because I already did all the other ones. I'll chuck the front wheel, which is on the passenger side in the front, on the right. Chuck that wheel, and then I'll show you the other wheel I'll chuck. Then I'll chuck the back wheel. It's another chuck right there on the driver's side, but in the back. That way when you put the jack on it to jack it up, you ain't got to worry about the jack possibly going forward the car or going backwards when you jacking it up. Always make sure it's on level ground. And you already know before you do brakes that you gotta unloosen the lug nuts, jack the vehicle up, and then take the tire off. I'm gonna do all that, then I'll be back, because I'm not gonna record the whole entire thing, then the video will be too long. I want to do this in pieces so I can break it down and show you how to fix brakes. And now you can see it's jacked up. I got the wheel off, and that's why you got to chuck the wheel. And that's what I did, chuck the wheel. Like down there, that's the front wheel, okay, on the passenger side. So in case this jack was to go that way, then there's a chuck on the wheel to keep it from rolling forward. If the jack was to go this way, right, then on the other side, right there, there's a chuck on that wheel. Actually, let me push it under there, and I'll show you. It's a chuck under that wheel. Chuck this wheel just to make sure. Now that's chucked. It's a little bright out, but if you can see, it's chucked. So going back around the vehicle, so it's a chuck on that back wheel over there, right? Just in case you try to roll backwards. And that's how you stay safe. Now, this here is your caliper, okay? You always have 2 bolts. You always have 2 bolts. It's a bolt at the top of the caliper. I'm gonna try and see if I can get a good enough angle, get up in there and show you. And then there's another bolt right here. There's 2 bolts on this thing. Okay, if you're looking at it, there's a bolt there, and there's a bolt right here at the bottom. A bolt at the top and a bolt at the bottom. It's only 2 bolts on this caliper that you unscrew and take off, and I'll show you when I take it off. It's only 2 bolts that holds this on. And inside this caliper is your brake pad. That's one right there, and then there's another one on that side. Brake pads is in the inside of the caliper. Okay? Now I'm gonna probably have to take this loose. Take that off. Remember, every vehicle is different. Okay? But pretty much they all similar far as the rotors and the design of the brake system. Most vehicles, unless it's a real high-end luxury car, most vehicles, the brake system is kind of designed the same. Maybe some difference far as where the screws go. This is a screw right here. Now this is different on this vehicle because it's a Jeep. When you put the tire on, these lug nuts actually go through the tire into here. Normally on most vehicles you will have stems sticking out that the tire, when you put the tire on, the stems go inside. The tire goes on the stems, and then you have screws that screw onto the stems. But on this one, as you can see that right there? That's what this is, right? So when you put the tire on, you put this in there and screw it back on, right? But normally, on most vehicles they have stems sticking out, and when you put the tire on, you put it on the stems that'll normally be sticking out like this, and you put the tire on there, and then you screw the nuts onto the screw once the tire's on. But on this one, it's made like this. Put the tire on, put the screw in between the holes, and tighten it up. Alright, I'll be back because I want to take this off, and then I'll show you after I take this off. And you also need something called a C-clamp. This is a C-clamp, okay? This is a C-clamp. And I'll show you once I take the caliper off that the brakes sit inside. I'll show you what this is for. But this is called a C-clamp. You need this when it comes to switching out brakes, okay? And all your tools and things, you know, the brake pads, got your tools set and all that stuff. I also want to show you something. You see right here? It's like a screw right there, right? Now I have the wrench on here, right? And then I have this wrench on here. So what you do normally is you would normally hold this wrench while you turning this one. Now because I'm holding my camera in one hand, I can't show you, but you get the concept and the idea. So when both hands are free, I would normally hold this one with one hand and then turn this one, because if you turning this, right, to unscrew it, then this here may turn. So you might need some pliers to hold this while you turn this. So this here don't turn, so you can unloosen it. You get what I'm saying? So now, as you can see, like I said, you hold this while you turn this to unloosen it. Can't really do it, but like when I turn it, you see that? That's why you hold this with one hand while you turning this to unloosen the bolt, because there's like a bolt here that this screw screws in to keep it tight. When I take this out, I'm going to show you. But that's the caliper. Again, you only have two bolts on this caliper. One at the top and one at the bottom. That's the only two bolts on this that's holding this on. The brake pads is in the inside of this caliper. Once you take this off, I'll show you. Now this is the two bolts right here. This the two bolts right there. Those are the two bolts that comes out of the caliper. So the first bolt was right here. See that? It's right there. So now you take the caliper off. See this? Now I just took it off. Now you see that? That's one of the bolts. That's the other bolt. See that? If you can see it, I'm trying to get in there. It's a little dark. There's a bolt right here. That's where that goes. Fits right there. One end fits there. The other end fits here. It's only two bolts that holds this caliper on, and your brake pads is right here. Now all you do is just take out the brake pad. Brake pad is right here. So you just take these out. Just showing you. Might have to jam something in there to take it out. But you just kind of like pull it out And it's really not that hard, honestly. It's just I have the camera in my hand, in one of my hands, and the other one, let's see, get this out of those little grooves, some little grooves there. So pull it on out. Hold on, let me grab something. So if you're looking at it on this particular, I'm just gonna stick this little wrench up in there, kind of push it out. See that? See how easy that came out? And I'm gonna do the same for this side. You know, I'm gonna push that on out. See that? Just came out. See that? And it's just all to it, baby. Brakes are real easy to fix. Nothing hard. But this is the pad. See that? Still have a little meat on it. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. But that's the pad. That's how the pad look. Okay? That's the brake pad that goes inside the caliper. This is the caliper right here. This is where your brake pads, this sits inside. Just took it off. This is what the C-clamp, gotta push this back in. Because when you put the new brakes on so it can fit, so this can fit back on the new brakes, you gotta push this in, this middle thing, with the C-clamp that I showed you. With this C-clamp. And I'll show you in a minute. So yeah, it's your brakes. It's your brake pad. You know, caliper. The rotors. And that's really all to it. And just the grooves where the pads go. Like I said, where the screws go to screw the caliper back on it. Now, let me get the C-clamp on it and then I'll be back. So this is basically your seat clamp. There's a truck coming, so it's going to be a lot of noise. This is basically your seat clamp right here. See how that I put that on the caliper? Let me try and turn it around so you can get a good idea of what I'm talking about. The seat clamp goes on here. See that? It goes on there. You see? So let me set it. Try and set it where you can see it. Alright, there we go. So you see it? See how that is? So I have one end on the end of the caliper, right? This is a C-clamp. I have one end of the C-clamp on the end of the caliper, and then this screw piece that screws, you put that right on the middle of this right here, so you can push that back in. You push that back in. Some of these things could be pretty tough and pretty hard, but you push that back in, so when you get ready to put the pads back on, this will fit back on it, and you'll see as I go. But that's your C-clamp. This is your C-clamp. And then you just twist this, turn this, until you squeeze this in. Alright? So, I'll be back. So here's the new pads that I just took out the box. That's the new pads. Old pads. See that? See the difference? A little meat still left on it right there. That's the meat. A little meat on it. That's the back of it. New pads. Alright. That's the other, let me see, this the other old pad that just came off of it. Alright, I'm going to put the new pad on it. Let's see, new pad. This one, because it got this on there, you notice on these new ones, these are the two new ones, there's only one little hook thing on it. On one of the pads, this is the one that goes in the back on this particular vehicle. You just gotta, you see these grooves right here? It's like grooves right here. This is where the pads fit in. It's the same in the back. So you just gotta basically try and find that groove, the groove that the pad goes in, and just put that back in the groove there. Let me see. So, just gotta get that pad into the groove, fit it in the groove, and that's basically it, man. See that? Just fit that, make sure it fits in the groove, the pad. Look at all that meat on it. As long as it's in that groove. Same with this one, the new pad. You just gotta make sure, and if you look at the pad and the way it's designed, you could see which way it goes. Not this way. It doesn't go that way. So make sure when you do your brakes, it's on right. It's in these grooves here. Put that, see that? This piece? Put that right in that groove. Actually, I'll do the top first. Fit the top right in that groove. Fit the top, and then the bottom shall follow. Remember, I got one hand because I'm holding the other. I'm using the other hand to hold the camera. But this is basically. I'm gonna keep doing that. Let me. All right. Put this in this groove. Fit that in there. Fit that in there. And then, give me a minute. Let me get my other hand free. So you just slide it. See how on this car it's a little spring right here. You can see it on this particular vehicle, but I just stick that right in that groove. See that? Stick it right in that slot. It's like on this particular vehicle, it's a little spring there to kind of hold them in so they don't slide out. But when the caliper is on it, it's not going to do that. So you see they both in the grooves. They both right in those grooves. Now let me double check. Let me turn this off. Now let me show you what I'm talking about. You see how I have this caliper? Now this goes back over the pads. But you see it won't go in there because remember that middle piece? You got to push that in, that middle piece. So you can push the caliper back over the brakes. Because that middle piece that I was trying to push in with the seat clamp, that's what pushed the brakes in, that push out. When you press the brakes, when you're driving, just push out and push onto the brakes. And that what makes the brakes, when you squeeze it, that what makes the brakes stop. So I got to push this piece here. Some cars is easy, some cars they're very tough. This one is pretty tough. I got to push it in some more so this caliper can go back over the brakes. Because if this still out too much, this caliper ain't going to go on the brakes because there's new brake pads. And the brake pads is not worn down because they new, like these. Yeah, I can easily put these back on because they worn down. But it's got so much meat on it, it's not going to go over it. So I got to push this back in. I'll be back. There's another type of tool you can use with this, because this one actually giving me a little bit of a hard time to push this piece back inside so I can get this caliper back onto the brake pads. But there's another little tool set that you can get. It looks like that. This little tool set, right? It's little pieces like this that fits in here. See that? And then you just kind of screw it. But this one is a little tough. This one is a little stubborn. And then you just screw it. As you can see, then you just screw it this way. So I can push this thing back in. And so once again, I can fit the caliper back onto the brake pads. You see that? It's another little tool. This little piece here that goes up in there, fits right up in there where the brakes go. And then that little piece, this little piece here slides into, and then you just twist it. So you can kind of twist it in. caliper is on, and see how just put it on. Finally got that thing in the inside. Let me take my other hand to show you what I'm talking about. Alright, now I want to show you. Now you see that? See what I mean? That's this piece here, that little thing right there, that right there in the middle. I had to push that in. This one was a little tough. Some cars it'll be easy, some it won't. There's a few different tools you can use to try and push this in. I just actually knocked the rest of it in with the actual C-clamp. But you see that? Now that just goes right here on the pads. Right? It just slides right on. See that? Just slides. Just making sure I don't pinch my finger. But just squeeze that in. Let's see. Just making sure. Let me take the other hand so I can use this hand and make sure I do this right. See that? Now that's on. Oh my God. So that's on. And then you just basically line up this caliper with the screw for the screw. And now let me put my screw in, and then that's it, man. You just line that up. I just put the screw in, and basically let me put the other screw in the bottom. But that's pretty much it, guys. That's pretty much it. So there's the caliper that goes over the brake pads. That's the new brake pad that's inside. The caliper fits over the brake pad. It's just 2 bolts, one here and one at the bottom, there and top. 2 bolts that holds this caliper on the rotors. Okay, so that's it, man. And then there's a little screw right here. There's a little screw right here that I already unscrewed, but that's basically to let the air out. That's where your brake fluid comes out at when you want to release brake fluid. But there's a little screw right here on top of the rotor. On top of the caliper, you know. And you might see some already on the ground. Basically, after you do your brakes, then what you want to do is have someone to sit inside your car, press your brakes all the way down to the floor, loosen this just a little bit, just for air, to release air out of the lines, and then you tighten that back up, and then it can release the brake. Again, you can have someone just to do that part, to press your brakes all the way down. You unloosen this to let the air out of the lines, tighten that back up, and obviously I'm going to tighten it up with my wrench. But then you tighten it back up and it can release the brakes. That's so you can release air out of the lines after you're done putting everything back on. The brake pads, the caliper. Now it's time for me to tighten the caliper back up, so I'll be back. So this is how the other tool looks, just like that. You can use this video if you want to go and purchase this tool. You go into an auto store, and ask them about this tool or either the C-clamp. C-clamp is right here. So there's a couple of different ways. The rest of the way I just beat it in with the C-clamp. Basically, I took this end of the C-clamp and just started beating it in. But now the caliper is back on. Everything is tight. Everything is right. Oh my God, man. This is the only brake. I already did all 4 of my brakes. Because the video would have been too long, this is why I was trying to break it down and only showed you one brake. All I have to do is show you make a video of me doing one brake. Man, I gotta get some water. I'm starting to slur my words because I'm thirsty. It's a little warm out. But yeah, so I tighten that bolt up. I tighten this bolt up. They both tighten, and that's pretty much it. Remember, just a refreshment. Untighten the bolts. You pull this off. The brake pads in the inside, one on this side, one on that side. You just slide the brake pads out. Put the new ones in. You got to push that middle piece in, And then once you push that middle piece in that I showed you, then you can put the caliper back on to the rotors with the brake pads inside. And that's it. Now I just got to tighten up this little screw there, and that's it. See what I'm saying? Now I got the tire back on. Now I just put that lug nut in there. See how these are made? These are different. That's the actual lug nut and stem, the way it's made on this particular vehicle. Then you just screw that in there on this vehicle. Let me finish the rest. Alright, that's pretty much it. I got the lug nuts back in. Before I let it all the way down, I put the tire on, put the lug nuts back in, tighten them up as much as I can while it's still jacked up. And now I'll jack it down so I can finish tightening the lug nuts up onto the tire, the wheel. Tighten the wheel up. Alright, it's your boy Akeem, baby. Hopefully the video will help somebody. I know it will at some point. And obviously it's not for people that already know how to do this. It's for beginners, as far as anyone that wants to learn how to do brakes. Remember, safety first. Chuck your wheels. So when you're jacking this thing up, it doesn't roll back or it doesn't roll forward. Chuck one of your wheels in the back and one of your wheels in the front to keep you safe so the vehicle don't fall on you, because sometimes jacks can fall down. Make sure you're on a flat surface and you're not uphill, downhill, or on a slanted, pavement. Make sure the pavement is flat as much as possible. And that's it. Be safe. Your boy Akeem.